If you wanted to stop a silver squeeze, what just happened is exactly how you would do it. This weekend, silver was breaking out to new all-time highs as physical demand was surging and inventories were tightening. And then suddenly, right in the midst of all of this, the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, goes dark. Oil, gold, silver, futures, the global derivatives market freezes. Now, the official excuse given was a cooling issue at one of their data centers, which very well may be the case. Although it did strike me as odd that they don't have redundancies, but wait, they actually do. In fact, they even have a backup data center, but apparently none of those worked, so they were down for 10 hours. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm not a technical engineer. I don't have any insider information at the CME. I'm merely a journalist who thinks something stinks and that we should talk about it. Because even if it was a mere coincidence that the timing lined up so perfectly, that right as silver was ripping and the system was under stress, that everything went down, it does give us some very big clues about what is coming next for both silver and gold and how we can use this information to protect ourselves. In case you missed it, the CME, the world's largest exchange operator, suffered its longest outage this weekend, instantly triggering waves of speculation as to what really happened. Picture the scene from The Big Short where Michael Burry's short positions start winning and suddenly every major bank has an excuse as to why they won't call him back.
You can't call me back for a week?
I'm so sorry, Mike. Goldman had a systems failure. I lost a ton of messages.
Yeah, B of A said they had a power outage, and Morgan Stanley said the server crashed.
Huh, that's weird.
Yeah, I would call it improbable.
This is because right before the outage, silver was reaching record territories. As physical demand surged, inventories were very tight. There wasn't enough supply, which is why many believe that right when the outage happened, it prevented a massive delivery from going through that would have exposed the fact that there wasn't nearly enough supply. Now, again, this is all speculation, but what's not speculation is that there is a major imbalance between the real deal when we're talking about physical gold and silver versus the paper promises that are made. This is because the largest players in the game, the LBMA in London and the COMEX in New York, have long rehypothecated their gold and silver. This is a process where they can have multiple claims on the same 1 ounce. So let's say you have 1 ounce of gold. You could have a dozen or 100 claims on this same ounce, which would make it appear that there is a far larger supply than there actually is. This is where many claim that prices are artificially suppressed and that market manipulation comes into play. But you might be saying, okay, wait a second, how is it possible that they've gotten away with this for so long and what is changing now? And the answer is quite simple. It's because the majority of contracts don't end in physical delivery. In fact, less than 2% of total contracts actually result in real physical delivery. The other 98% are settled in cash or rolled over into a new position, which works perfectly fine until it doesn't. It's the same logic as a bank run. You can have fractional reserves indefinitely as long as confidence doesn't break down. But the second that confidence collapses and people start demanding the real thing, well, now you've got a serious problem. The illusion breaks. And that's exactly what's happening right now globally with gold and silver. Trust between nations, trust between central banks, trust in fiat currency and debt are all breaking down. People, institutions, nations, they no longer want paper promises. They want the real thing, something tangible, something with intrinsic value that has zero counterparty risk. It's why China has been busy building the infrastructure to support a new monetary system, one that does not have fiat currency or the dollar at the center of it. In fact, China has been extremely busy with their Shanghai Gold Exchange and making sure that they have a counterweight to the West's prior dominance when it comes to both gold and silver. In fact, recent data in China shows that silver inventories have hit a decade low after China has been busy bailing out London, shipping their silver overseas. And not only that, we also have seen backwardation when spot prices of silver are higher than that of futures, a sure sign of physical supply tightness. even if you take the CME cooling story at face value, there are many other signs that show us that supply, when compared to the paper market, are completely different. There is a huge discrepancy. There's far less supply than they'd have us believe. But I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think that they can keep this illusion running for much longer? Or do you think that they're finally reaching the end of the road? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I personally am watching a lot of different signals, but one of the ones that I always keep a close eye on are what are foreign nation central banks doing with their reserves. Now, there have been a long list of nations, Germany, India, Hungary, the list goes on, who have been repatriating their gold or bringing it back home, which is a sure sign, again, of that trust breaking down between nations, as well as nations understanding that gold is going to be positioned at the center of the new monetary system. This is something that's happening right now. And just this week, Italy joins this long list of nations who wants to make sure they have control over their own gold, with their PM coming out and saying, this gold belongs to Italy, not to Europe, right? Going head to head with the EU. Now, I don't blame her. I'd be doing the same thing, but we will have to see how that all plays out. But again, another sign of nations, and this doesn't just apply to nations and central banks. This applies to individuals as well, making sure that you have control over your gold and silver. Physical, not digital, the real deal, because that's what you're going to want to have as this confidence and trust continues to break down. The key here is that the next time there might not be a cooling issue to avoid default. As trust continues to break down, it's going to be more and more difficult for those in positions of power to keep this illusion alive, that there is enough supply when we all know there's not. And it's evident in all the instances that keep happening, right? In 2020, we saw it when we thought there was going to be a default on gold in these markets because guess what? There wasn't enough supply to keep up with the demand. Suddenly, in a time of crisis, everyone wanted the real deal. Don't wait until that moment to try and get your hands on the real deal. Make sure you have it now. We saw it again a year ago when there was basically a bank run on the LBMA, a gold run, and delivery times went from a few days to 8 weeks because guess what? The supply wasn't there. We saw it again with silver just a few months ago, right? We saw the same type of squeeze happening again with the backwardation and all these different signals letting us know that the supply wasn't there. This is going to continue to happen with both gold and silver, again, as more and more people, institutions, and banks realize that we are entering a new monetary system, that the currency that we are all relying on, this dollar-dominated system, is failing in live time. What do you think is going to happen when they can no longer keep the illusion on this thing? There's going to be a violent repricing, right? That's what's going to happen. You're going to wish that you had more of both gold and silver when that moment comes. If you think that they are expensive right now, they are cheap, right? But again, it's very important that you are positioned before things get worse, not after, because it will be that much harder to make sure you're protected in the future. And this is why it's so important to understand currency resets throughout history as well, because they always follow a pattern. Now, do I think that you should own both silver and gold? Yes, absolutely. I do. I own both, right? Do I think that both are undervalued and are going to go up? Yes, I do. But silver is what I'm going to be using for my daily purchases, right? For groceries, for so on. That's what we see time and time again during currency resets. Gold is not only going to protect my wealth, but compared to the failing fiat currency, if you look at any currency reset in history, gold always goes up exponentially, right? This is what you would use to convert back into, let's say, real estate or any kind of large ticket item purchase that you want to have. This is what's going to give you options and generational wealth. That's why it's so important to make sure you understand the functionality of both gold and silver and what you're preparing for. I'm not buying gold and silver as a speculative investment. Again, do I believe they're going to go up? Yes, absolutely. But I'm buying them as protection for what is happening right now with the currency reset that we are living through. And if you have any questions about that or you want to understand that a little bit more, especially if this is new information, we do have a free resource that I highly recommend you download. It's called our Build to Endure report. It has over 100 years of data in it, specifically how different assets perform during currency resets and what you can do to protect yourself. So you can get your free copy by scanning that QR code, or there's a download link in the description below. You also can always call us at the number below or set up a time and talk to one of our expert analysts. We have 30 years of experience in helping people just like you prepare for what is happening today and what is coming next. Because again, this is not just about buying gold and silver. Yes, it's very important you take action, but it's also about having a strategy, a plan, about understanding what's happening today, the parallels to the past, and what's different this time, so that you can have the best strategy for you and your personal situation, your finances, your goals, your concerns. Because again, what is happening fast. It's going to be big, and we want to make sure we're all prepared for it. So call us at the number below, or like I said, you can set up an appointment by clicking the link in the description below or scan the QR code, whatever works best for you. And in the meantime, thank you so much for being here. I'm Taylor Kenny with ITM Trading, your trusted source for all things gold, silver, and lifelong wealth protection. Until next time.